Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show that we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, as well as to Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So if you're joining us from either of those places, please feel free to leave a comment or a question down below. Hopefully I'll be able to answer or address any questions or concerns that you have as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can answer anything individually for you. So let's get started here. We'll take a look at our headlines. So what are we watching for the next couple of days? Well, we still have some of those scattered showers and downpours to contend with through the rest of this weekend and even as we get into Monday. But again, not everyone is going to see one as we go through tomorrow either. It's going to be very similar to what we saw today. Some folks get hit with some downpours, some don't, but it is still possible as we go through our Sunday, and there is ample moisture in the atmosphere for these showers to work with, so it is possible we could see some localized areas of flooding, especially if any storms go over the same areas more than once. So that'll be something we'll be keeping an eye on. And then we've got a cold front moving through Monday night, and that'll bring us better chances for more widespread scattered showers and thunderstorms, and there even is a marginal or isolated risk for a strong or severe storm as that front moves through. But as of right now, it doesn't look like anything widespread. And then as we get past that cold front, will actually continue to remain near average through the middle of next week before climbing back up above average for the end of next week in time for the 4th of July. So let's get started here. Let's go ahead and look at the highs for today. We warmed all the way up into the upper 80s for most of us here. If you got hit with some of those showers, especially across western Kentucky earlier in the day, that actually helped keep you guys a lot cooler than the rest of the tri-state. But the Evansville area got all the way up to the upper 80s, almost 90 degrees. Once again, our current temperatures have cooled down a good bit. We're at around 81 now in the Evansville area, even cooler to the south where some of those showers move through. So Paducah is at around 76. Same thing there for Bowling Green and even out towards Lexington. They had some of those showers and storms roll through. It really just depends on where you're standing. You know, today it was kind of favored over western Kentucky. Tomorrow it could be really just popping up anywhere that across the tri-state. So that's why it's very summer-like pop-up storms through the morning and into the afternoon for Sunday. But as I mentioned, there is ample moisture in the atmosphere still. So here's a look at those dew points. They're up in the 70s, so still in the low to mid 70s, which is what we were dealing with this entirety of this past week, which is why we had that heat advisory and those feels like temperatures were up into the triple digits. Well, today, because those temperatures stayed a little bit cooler, we didn't have those heat advisory levels of heat index values. So however, it is still very humid out there as you walk outside, and those showers are able to take advantage of that and produce some very heavy rainfall occasionally. But here's a look at our setup right now. High pressure has weakened and moved off to our east. We still just have some general humid pop-up showers and storms that are just going to continue to bubble up through the southeast and along the Ohio River Valley, and that's going to continue through the day tomorrow. We do have this front that's parked up to our north, so that's where it's keeping a lot of that convection just to the north of the tri-state, and then we've got a couple of showers and storms that are now beginning to fizzle out over southern Illinois. So I think most of us will likely remain dry through tonight. However, we still have that isolated chance for another shower or storm to bubble up through the overnight hours, but again, not expecting any severe weather with that. So everyone can go to bed peacefully. But here's a look at our current satellite and radar. We don't really have any showers happening in the tri-state right now. We have one just to the north there of Gibson County there, just south of Vincennes. That looks like a heavy downpour. Those will likely continue to fizzle out here as we go through the rest of the night with the loss of that daytime heating. But we had some of those showers move through portions of western Kentucky earlier this morning and into the afternoon hours, and they were producing some pretty heavy rainfall. Luckily, we didn't get any flash flood warnings from those showers or storms, but there was actually a flash flood warning just to our south there in Christian County. But we did pick up a couple of inches of rain from those showers, so about 2 inches there in the Madisonville area, down into Hopkins and Muhlenberg County. Looks like that's where a lot of those greens were popping up, even there in Webster Webster County saw some pretty heavy rainfall earlier today. But luckily, once that rain moves through, we didn't have any showers to kind of follow up with it. So we were able to kind of escape that isolated flooding threat. But it is still a threat even as we go into tomorrow and on Monday. So keep an eye out for that. If you come across any flooded roads, you know what to do. Don't drive through them. Make sure you find a different route and making sure you're not getting stuck in that floodwater, because that is not safe for anyone. But here's a look at what we could expect as we go through tonight. Again, we'll be partly cloudy, mostly dry, but there is that isolated chance for a shower or storm through the overnight hours. Temperatures will drop down into the lower 70s. And then tomorrow, very similar to today, really just depends on where you're standing. You could get a shower or you could not, but we've got that 50% chance for scattered showers and storms throughout the day on Sunday. Highs will warm back up into the mid to upper 80s. So here's a look at our future radar. Again, we're picking up on a few of those showers off to our north and a few hanging out over southern Illinois, but they will continue to dissipate as we go through tonight for the most part. And then we'll remain partly cloudy. And then as we get into Sunday, we'll have a few of those showers start to bubble up through the morning hours and even as we get into the afternoon. So again, it's not like we're seeing widespread showers and rain across the entire tri-state. It's just there is a chance that you get hit with some of them as you go out throughout your day tomorrow. So if you have outdoor plans, making sure you're just keeping an eye on the sky. If you see a big tall cloud in the distance, maybe pull up your 14 First Alert radar and check it out. If it's heading your way, maybe you want to think about moving into the car for a little bit or having a way to escape any thunder or lightning, because that is also a very dangerous thing. No one wants to get struck by lightning either. That's why we tell you to go indoors when thunder roars. But there is that flash flooding risk. So again, it's isolated. We're not expecting widespread flash flooding, but it really is just the case if you get hit with the downpour more than once, you could have some flooding issues with that. But let's fast forward to what we can expect as we get into Monday. So we are anticipating that cold front to move on through, and that is going to move in later in the afternoon and into the evening hours there. And as that moves in, we'll have better chances for scattered showers and storms all across the entire tri-state. And that is really what's going to help take that humidity out of the air, with high pressure finally building in through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even into Friday for 4th of July of next week. The second half of next week is looking pretty dry. Comfortable at least through Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe Thursday, and then we start to see those humidities climb back up by the time we get into Friday for the 4th of July. So perfect timing for that, I'm assuming. But looking at our forecast, Thursday, Friday there, again, staying mostly dry. There is, of course, that isolated pop-up chance for a thunderstorm in the afternoon. It is summertime here in the tri-state. You can't completely rule it out. But there is also that isolated risk for a strong or severe storm as that front moves in. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to be widespread, and our main risk would be that heavy rainfall, lightning, and maybe some damaging wind gusts. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat. If it gets increased, I'll let you know, and we might pop an alert day for Monday. But overall, the setup doesn't look like it's going to be a huge, a severe weather maker. It's just that one-off chance that you get one with a gusty wind, and then everything will kind of start to subside even after the sun sets. But most importantly, that front will help us out in the dew point department. So we've been stuck up in this stifling and muggy category for the past week, and now we're going to start to see that front move in for Monday, and then you see it drop down in just a muggy and humid category, which isn't sound great, but compared to what we're dealing with, now we have dew points in the low to mid 70s. We're talking about dew points now in the low to mid 60s. So a little bit more comfortable, still technically humid. It's definitely not pleasant or dry like you would expect for a fall cold front, but it is a cooler, less humid front, I guess we could call it, as we get into Monday night into Tuesday. So that's some relief we can look forward to, but it doesn't last long because it does start to shoot back up by the time we get into Friday. And along with the humidity starting to climb back up for the end of next week, so do our temperatures. So we'll start to climb back up into the lower 90s starting Friday and then continuing through the weekend there. But it does look like we'll enter more of a drier pattern. So we see mostly sunny skies really Tuesday through Saturday of next week, outside of that isolated chance for a pop-up shower or storm. But now, looking ahead through the first week of July, looks like we'll continue that warming trend. It looks like the weather setup is going to favor a warmer than average start to the month of July, and it looks like in terms of precipitation, we'll likely end up right around average. So maybe warm and very seasonable in terms of our precip. So not too bad, but I know none of us really want to go through what we just had this past week, even though we're likely going to have a lot more of that because we have a lot more of summer left here to go. So don't rule out more heat and humidity. It is summertime here in the tri-state. But there's a look at your 7-day forecast. Just to recap everything, we're still tracking out, again, some scattered showers and thunderstorms possible through Sunday. A little bit more widespread as we get into Monday due to that cold front. And, of course, there is that isolated chance for a strong to severe storm with some damaging wind gusts. But once that front clears, we will start to feel a little bit better out there for Tuesday and Wednesday. Temperatures start to climb back up above average towards the end of next week, and we're looking mostly sunny right now for 4th of July, but still kind of hot, 91 degrees, with that isolated chance of a downpour in the afternoon. So that is all I have for the forecast here, but I'm going to go ahead and check out the comments and see where what you guys are saying. All right. Nancy says good evening, so does Jeanette. It looks like Jessica, she was kind of looking forward to a pop-up storm. Well, hey, can't count out your chances just yet. We still have tomorrow. You may get hit with one. There's been an uptick in people getting struck by lightning. Yes, Jessica, you have noticed that. I'm assuming maybe you caught that story down in South Carolina or North Carolina, one of the Carolinas. They had a lot of people get injured by a lightning storm on a lake. So just this past week, actually, was Lightning Safety Awareness Week from the National Weather Service. So it's kind of timely here that we remind you guys, even though we're not expecting crazy severe weather, even just an ordinary thunderstorm has its risks, and they do pose risks to everyday people. So making sure you hear thunder, you're getting into at least a vehicle or a safe structure that you can wait it out for 30 minutes. Looks like Laura is watching from Dawson Springs. So glad to have you all here. That is all I've got for the forecast, so I am going to hop off of the live stream. I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Until then, everybody, have a great rest of your night and stay safe.